Alright, we are going to jump in by talking about the very first chapter, unit, and lesson in our book and in our class. So it's titled How Geographers Think, and since this is the first video, I'm going to give you some help as we go through that. So the things that I want you writing down are the things that you're going to see bold in bold print throughout this. So if you see that, you won't see that through all my videos, but at the beginning here, I'm going to give you some kind of guidance even in class as we watch this together, so we can kind of prepare for the time when you watch these videos at home. So also, just so you know, our first unit is 3 chapters, which is a lot. There's a lot packed in, but this should be a review of a lot of 6th grade concepts, so a lot of it shouldn't really be new material to you. So we've got a little bit more going on here. You can see I always start out with learning targets, so you can see what those are. Don't ask you to write anything down there, just kind of this is a good overview of what's coming. Often you'll see a guiding question, which I've left that off here, but that's you'll often see that in my videos. So one of the things we're going to start out by talking about is the comparison between history and geography and what the definitions are. So you're going to need to write down those definitions. History is the study of events that occur over time and how these events are connected. So part of what we studied in this class is history. Not just the past, because really what I just said a minute ago is technically in the past too. But it's that the study of all these things that have happened and why they're important and how they connect together. Geography is the study of Earth and its peoples, places, and environments. So 3 kind of things that we focus on there. We focus on human component. We also focus on kind of like an area, so places, and then also the environments, which include a lot of different things, such as the physical geography, climate, and even the characteristics that go with those things. So need to write both of these definitions down. I would tell you can even pause the video if you need to write anything down if I move too quickly for you. So a couple of other questions here you might just want to look over. So geography, this thing that we're going to be studying this year, is usually broken down into kind of 3 features, and those are spatial. Spatial includes things like location, shapes, and then relationships to one another. So spatial relationship includes those 3 components. Physical, these are things that you're probably I just kind of elaborated on this before, but climate, landforms, mountains, rivers, things like that, and then vegetation, different types. And then human is population, economic activities, and land uses, all the things that people do. So these interact together because people's land use affects vegetation and landforms. Economic activities can, affect the physical environment too. It might affect how people live together. Often people cluster in cities. So that's population connecting with spatial location and relationship there. So there's often a connection between those. But make sure you know that those are 3 of the features that we're looking for here in geography. Nothing that you need to write down here, but this kind of talks about the same thing I just mentioned here. The Earth is always changing, and so is geography. So our textbooks have to be updated every so often because information becomes incorrect. Things change. Boundaries of countries change. Leadership changes in these countries. Style of government. New events that are, well known that should be added into textbooks. So things are constantly changing, and we need to be aware of that. So even as we study throughout this year, things will be changing within the Earth, within geography. There are 5 themes of geography. These are kind of general terms here. Usually the acronym we use to remember these is Mr. Help, and they are location, place, region, human, environment, interaction, and movement. And I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about these. That's what the rest of this video is about, is kind of these 5 primary components here. So first we have location, is where something is found on Earth. And there are 2 types of location. There is relative location, which is like a place compared to another place. If you say, I live across the street from the gas station, or I live down the street from my best friend Jim. Those are both relative location. Or you could use characteristics. I live near something. That's another way of showing relative location. Even using cardinal directions, I live north of this, I live south of this, you're not telling its exact location. Like if I said I live north of Highway 46, that doesn't tell you exactly where I live. I could live, 10 miles in either direction from where I'm currently at, and I'm still maybe north of 46. Absolute location is something used a little bit more for accurate location. Absolute location is using either an address, so you see a couple of addresses there listed, either of our school, or you could use, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail, coordinates such as latitude and longitude. So we're going to talk about what those mean here right now. So latitude is the imaginary lines that run east and west. You can see them shown here. They run east and west on a map, but they measure distance north or south of the equator. Students always get this confused. So they're like, wait, you just said east and west and north and south all in the same definition. Well, if you look on a map, all of these lines run east and west, but they are measuring distance north or south of this major line, 0 degrees latitude, which is the equator. So you have to tell the distance from them in terms of north and south. We'll do some stuff in class that's going to make this hopefully a little bit more concrete and you understand a little bit better. But you need to know the definition of latitude, and you need to know that 0 degrees latitude is the equator. Longitude are lines that run north and south on the map or the globe and measure distances east or west of the prime meridian. So here we see the prime meridian at 0 degrees longitude, and all the lines have to measure east or west of that. You can't measure north or south of the line that goes up and down. So that's why that definition is the way it is. So the lines measure east and west. You would never see a line of longitude with a label of north and south, even though the lines go north and south. This is very, very confusing, and always people mess it up. But we're going to spend a couple days in class kind of working through and trying some mapping where we get the hang of that. So moving on here, place, one of those other 5 themes of geography is includes the characteristics that can be used to describe an area such as human and physical features. And we'll spend a lot of time here. This is what we do throughout the year. We describe a place based on human and physical features. So that's the component of place. Region is whenever you start to see that areas are close together. So we often cover information this way. We'll move from North Africa into East and West Africa, Central Africa, Southern Africa. Those are all regions. And regions usually have some sort of characteristic that defines them. People in those regions are similar to each other in at least some component. Maybe not completely, Americans that live in the Midwest probably are similar in a lot of ways, especially when you compare them to maybe people that live in the South or in the West. So there's just definitely some characteristics that unite us in regions. Human environment interaction is how people and environment affect one another. There are kind of 3 factors of this: the environment, climates, and resources kind of all factor into this. And I kind of already brought this up earlier. If you're getting resources out of the ground, you're affecting the environment. Climate is a critical component of environment. So these are all some things that you need to write down and know. We're almost done here. Just a couple of other kind of things. You notice I kind of skip over some slides, kind of focusing on the major details, and that's what I want you to focus on writing down. So we finally have movement. It's how people, products, ideas, and information move from place to place. So when you probably think of movement, you might think of like migration, which is certainly a type of people movement, or immigration. But also just the fact that I'm creating a video here and posting it online is showing the movement of information that I have that I'm putting out online to you. So that's another kind of component, that the world today is filled with tons of movement of information, especially across the World Wide Web, but also through other forms of media as well. So that's another component, and that certainly has an effect on the way people view things and trends that we see. And so we kind of factor this in even to our study of what we do. At the beginning, you're going to see movement is more about how people will physically move, but later on it's the movement of ideas that will happen. And that is the last slide. So as I said before, most of my videos are around 10 minutes. We've hit that. So I'm going to wrap it up right now, and we will start with the next section very soon. Thanks.